walking away, when you're experiencing alienation, when your ex has successfully managed to turn your children against you, you've been through the court process and you're banging your head against a brick wall and it's taking its toll mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially. Do you just walk away? So I wanted to talk about it. I kind of deconstruct it. If you've watched my videos by now, you know that I like to look at it from as many angles as possible. So I think the first thing is court. When do you walk away from court? And this is probably the easiest of the lot in many ways because you're not as attached to that process. Making the decision of when to walk away obviously is a personal one. I'm just going to talk about some things that you could consider in that. So obviously financially, that, you know, we can't ignore the fact that it takes a huge financial toll. At some point you need to be weighing up your own feelings around financial security. Is this jeopardizing a sense of safety that you have around your financial situation? Is it getting you into trouble? Are you likely to do something financially that could be really detrimental, taking out loans you can't afford, remortgaging a house that you can't afford the repayments on, borrowing money from unscrupulous people? If you're on the verge of those decisions, I would be just taking a moment and really thinking this through. And think about it from a standpoint of when the kids need you, are you going to be available in that situation if you carry on down this path? There's no right or wrong for that from me. I'm just offering some ideas for reflection upon that, because I always think, you know, some people have spent over 100,000, multiple hundreds of thousands in this court process. That is a lot of money that the children are not now going to see. Things that could be put aside for them, you could have put it in multiple ISAs and savings accounts that would have set them up in the future. And I understand why you've spent that money. I'm not saying you made a wrong choice of that. What I'm saying is it's about weighing up. Is ploughing more money into something that I'm not getting anywhere with the best thing I can do with this money? Or can I do something else with it that will benefit my children more? Maybe not now, but in the long run. And I suppose it comes down to your relationship with money, for starters. You know, if you believe I can make more, money will always come, this is just part of the process, I'll just keep going through this, you might be all right. You might be able to keep going and might, you know, just know that it's not going to impact your financial security in any way, shape or form. But if you struggle with money, then this is a huge thing. You know, this is real stress. And we know stress in the court goes against you, because you might be sitting there thinking, I've paid a few £1,000s for this hearing and it's not going my way. Oh my God, what a lot of money. But it might, when you respond from that stress place, which we know stress, it damages your cognitive ability, it slows down your ability to make decisions, and it can trigger emotional responses. So you might be stressed about money, but actually it might look or be interpreted against a false narrative. So it's being aware of, is this money affecting my overall presentation in this case? So really, really think about that. Also, there's a great saying that if you keep doing the same thing you've got to expect to keep getting the same results. And that's kind of with the court process, is you've tried it, it's not working. How long are you going to keep banging your head against this brick wall? The change might be something else. There might be somewhere else that you can do some work, and that's kind of what we're going to work our way through. But just like I say, it's for you to consider. But first one, or one of the aspects, is finances. How are the finances? Are you able to keep going? And if not, then even if you just walk away for a time, build up again, and then come back, I just think be mindful of the stress that finances create. So second thing with court is, as I've just said, you might have the wrong team, you might have the wrong strategy, their narrative might have gained such momentum that it's going to be really, really hard to break down. And even if you do manage to break down, you still might not get the result that you want, because I've seen courts repeatedly, even when they do acknowledge that this has been a deliberate behaviour on behalf of your ex, or whoever the alienator is, they don't know what to do with that. So they may still say, yeah, it is alienation, we acknowledge the damage that's been done to the kids, but you know what, we're not going to do anything about it because it'll be too harmful for the children, which is bullshit. But that is a very common approach that is taken. And so sort of being aware that even if what are you doing this for? And this is a question that I ask in the coaching, is just remind yourself, why are you fighting? What are you fighting for? And just come back to that, because you can sometimes get addicted to the fight and the desire for justice. And sometimes, again, in the work that I do with parents, it's about reframing what that means. What does justice mean? Could justice mean you being happy? Could justice mean you living a stress-free life? And yes, this will always be a painful area of your life, but that doesn't mean that you can't be happy in other ways. And so making that decision to carry on, again, has to be weighed up against those sort of things. Is this helping me with my life? Is it, what sort of damage is it causing? Another tool that I use is balance. How much of your energy is going into this one area of your life, and how is that affecting all the other areas of your life? I'm not saying walk away. What I'm saying is, these are the sort of things for you to be thinking of, balancing your life, making sure that you're in a good space, because the importance of a balanced life is you are healthy and happy, and that is ultimately what you want for your kids, isn't it? If we really get down to the bare bones of what we're fighting for, it's we want our kids to be happy and healthy. There's lots of ways to achieve that. Is court the only way? In my opinion, no, it is not the only way at all. And in many ways, it can be a more damaging way of doing that. So other thing for you to consider is the impact on the kids. So I was talking to someone the other day about getting experts involved. And whilst, yes, experts absolutely are vital at a certain point in a case, this was really early on, and actually I felt that it appeared that there was a good understanding of the behaviours. And so, weighing up the impact on the children of that. This child had already been triangulated in by the other parent and asked to do things to reject the other parent, even though they still actually had a relationship with that parent and enjoyed their time with them. They'd been brought in as part of this campaign. And so do you invite an expert in and spend more money that's actually going to be another stranger in your child's life asking more questions? These are all impacts. These are all part of adverse childhood experiences that we can avoid. Now, I'm not saying do not involve experts, because I definitely think in a lot of those severe cases, they are absolutely necessary. But what I'm saying is, before you decide upon your strategy, these are the questions to be asking yourself. You've got to remain child focused on this. And if you can explain it to if say your adult child came to you and said, why did you put me through all of that? If you genuinely think you can sit with them and explain it all and feel I 100% did what I thought was the right thing, then go for it. But like I say, just be mindful of that. And again, that plays into, is this the right path for me? So yeah, court, like I say, probably the easiest one to make a decision about, but there are lots of different factors as to whether you do that. And when I say walk away, you know, this isn't forever. You'll never, it's not over until you're in the ground. And so you might walk away for a period of time to give yourself a breather, to regroup, to strengthen up. But these are the sort of things that you want to be thinking about. If I'm missing anything you think is relevant, obviously drop it in the comments and let me know. So next I'm going to move on to walking away from the chaos, which court is the chaos, but also the triangulation of court into the drama triangle by your ex. And that might not always be obvious because they might not be the one who's applying to court, but equally they might not be engaging in court, but that is still a behaviour which is playing into the chaos and the drama. And so, again, you have a choice to make about your own well-being of, do I want to keep playing this game? Do I want to keep feeding the monster? I'm sure there's a better phrase than that, but every time that you engage with your ex or the alienator, you are feeding into their game, into their narrative. Choosing to walk away from the chaos of it is about you making conscious choices of how you are going to protect yourself, what boundaries you are going to put in place. And it is possible to do that and maintain some sort of fight for this, but fight in itself is a trauma response. And so as I look at other elements in this, then we'll look at how you can change that a little bit so you can fight on a different level that isn't from a trauma response, it's from a healed place. And so withdrawing from the chaos, I would 100% recommend everybody does. And that can be from the day-to-day chaos of, you know, the text messages or communication, you know, withdrawing from that. And I don't mean not communicating. What I mean is the way that you communicate. So using the BIF responses I talked about in another video. So being brief, informative, friendly, and firm in the way that you communicate with them. So that you are essentially boundaries. We often think the boundaries are boom, keeping everyone out. What they're doing is actually, it's just about you feeling safe. So what do? You're not asking anyone else to do anything. What you're saying is, this is what I need to keep me safe, and this is what I will do to keep me safe. And court isn't always a place where you can do that. And so again, choosing that, do I walk away to protect myself from the chaos? Because every time I go back into court, whether it be through CAFCAS hearings, attempted mediation, or actual hearings, I'm playing back into this. The way you behave as part of that is the key to it. That's how you step out of the chaos. And you can do that alongside being within the court process, or, like I say, fighting for your relationship with your children. And again, these are things that we cover in coaching. But it's also a very internal thing. So I found through my own journey, there was an element of addiction to drama. This was like the culmination of it. Like, it didn't get bigger than this, but there's lots of little patterns of evidence in my past of where I've drawn myself into dramatic situations, and I had to heal that. I had to identify why and then heal that so that I wasn't actually craving it. And And we crave the highs and the lows. When we've got a dysregulated nervous system, we need the up and the down, the up and the down. That feels horrible. It feels boring and it feels uncomfortable. When you heal your nervous system, that feels like heaven and that feels like hell. But when we've got a dysregulated nervous system, it's the opposite way around. And so learning to heal your nervous system and the other things that we'll talk about in a minute is a huge way of you stepping out of that chaos and, like I say, walking away from the chaos. So next let's talk about the child. So walking away from the child. So my attitude to this is you will never, ever, ever walk away from your child. Does that mean that you will keep going back to court? No, not necessarily. But it does mean that you will always hold them dear in your heart. You will always have an open communication avenue for them. You will always do the work for yourself so that you are that safe space for your child. So for me, there is no such thing as walking away from your child. And this is how I see it. And it may be something you resonate with. It may be, what? She's gone cuckoo. It's fine. I'm just going to share it. Take what you want from it. One, on a very scientific level, they share your DNA. So you can never separate yourself from each other. That is physically impossible. No one's going to go in and cut your DNA out of them. No matter what an alienator might like to do, they can't do that. So on a very biological level, you are always their parent. Now, even if you are not their biological parent, because I work with same-sex couples where one partner gave birth, the other one didn't, and they're still equal. The parent-child bond is, in my opinion, is an energetic bond. It is like an elastic band that you just cannot break. You will always be connected. You might stretch further away, but you'll always be able to come back together. So there's always this, like a breath almost. You're breathing out and breathing back in. So you'll never ever be able to walk away from that connection, no matter what the other parent tries to do. And for me, that is what I would always hold on to, is it doesn't matter what they do. It does not matter what lengths they go to. I am always their parent. The connection between us is always going to be there. And that for now is going to be enough. And that's a big leap. And that's a lot that I'm asking. And you may well not be ready. And you may think that, no, she's absolutely crazy. And I get that. I totally get that. This has taken me a lot of work to get to this point. But I also work with a lot of parents who are able to get to this point and actually find the peace that provides. The pain comes up, of course, anniversaries, birthdays. Life is not about not experiencing pain. Healing is not about not experiencing pain. It's about knowing that that pain is about a growth. It's about an opportunity to look and this is part of life. How can I sit with this? How can I grow from this? And so, yeah, you can never walk away from your children. Hold on to that alone. For me, the work is around knowing that that connection exists all the time. So I've used this example before. My dad and my dog passed away in the last few years. Love them deeply. The grief was real and painful, but also beautiful, because it's proof of how much I love them. And what I've been able to reach, as part of the grief cycle, there's something, not part of the Kubler-Ross model, but another model of continuing bonds. And essentially what that is no matter what, our bond with that person remains. And so I'm still able to talk to my dad and talk to my dog and show them all the love and affection. I love them just as much right here, right now, even though they are no longer in my physical world. I love them just as much. I feel as close to them. And that is where your power is. That is impossible for anyone to stop. So if you meditate or anything like that, I recommend you do. It's massively helpful for stress levels, but it's about connecting. So take those moments and connect with your child. Sit and send them love, send them those messages, and have those conversations of I love you. I remember the day you were born. It was brilliant. I will always love you no matter where you are in the world, no matter what is happening. I love you completely and utterly, and I always will. Just send that to them energetically. I'm not talking via text. I'm not talking via letter or email or any other way. I'm talking just sending it energetically. Like I say, you might think I've gone bonkers. This is what works for me. And for me, that's about, no one can destroy that. I think this is part of it with alienation, is that feeling of someone's destroying something that means so much to me and is such a positive thing for me and the child, and that feels wrong and it feels horrible. When you're able to sit there and go, actually, no one is destroying anything, because they can't. One, it takes away any of their power, and two, you come back into that unconditional love, and that's what your child needs. And you know what? When we radiate unconditional love, when we radiate sense of safety and a sense of being a sanctuary within ourselves, miracles happen. People are attracted to that. Your children are attracted to that, because that is what they need from you. They need to know that you're a sanctuary, a safe space. So being able to just be unconditional in your love for them, knowing that no matter what is going on in the outside world, no matter who is trying to interfere with this, our love remains, and I will always keep sending out the love every single day. And knowing that, yes, it is going to be painful at times, but that just shows how much I love them. So it's that reframing that means, even if you make the choice, you know what, I'm not going to go through court anymore, I'm not going to attempt to do anything in the physical world to change this at the moment, you're still connected and you're not walking away. You're just making choices that are in yours and your child's best interest. So the final thing I'm quickly going to look at is walking away from your own patterns and beliefs. Again, through my own healing journey, what I found is there was a lot of hidden limiting beliefs that I held around my worthiness and abandonment. And when you hold those beliefs that I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, people will always leave me, they are unreliable, I'm always going to be on my own, that is what manifests in your external reality. And so when we go back and we reparent and we heal those core limiting beliefs and believe ourselves to be worthy and lovable, and that people are great and are safe, and we trust our instincts and we trust ourselves, and we are safe within ourselves, again, that nervous system regulation, then again, the ripples in our outside world change. All change in the outside world comes from an inner change within ourselves. And so to make those changes, we've got to start right here. And so being able to identify what those limiting beliefs are, and then working towards creating healthy and more positive and more aligned beliefs with what you're trying to achieve, means that you're walking away from the things that got you into this, and walking away from what energy you bring to this situation, and changing that, bringing a new energy, a new belief system into it. And that is what changes your outer world. So there we go. If you want to discuss any of these things, either pop a comment or email us at inquiries@thenurturingcoach.co.uk. We offer specialist therapy to help you work through all of these things. So take care, everyone. If you have questions, do pop them below, and I will speak to you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.